Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of the Speak the Language podcast. I hope you're having a fantastic Christmas season so far. Just a quick rundown on what you can expect to hear in this episode. So I sat down with Jordan. Jordan's been at Cottonmouth the past 2 weeks. I've been at Togo Island. Both of these properties right on the Mississippi River, however. Cottonmouth is further north, Togo further south. We wanted to talk about the similarities and the differences of what we saw between deer activity and specifically rutting activity between the two time periods, because it's the way the rut unfolds in the South is pretty interesting, and to hear it from the first-hand experiences I thought was really interesting as well. We talk about hunts that worked, factors that made them work, calling deer in, catching deer, eating native vegetation versus food plots, and then one of the more interesting things we talked about was the effects of the flood. I know y'all have heard us talk about the flood a bunch so far because it's been, a really big factor in this season. And we talk about, the longer this season goes on, we try to figure out more and more what the effects of that flood are. But what's most interesting about this episode is we talk about one factor that doesn't appear to be negative, which is really interesting to me. So tune in. I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll learn some stuff. And yeah, enjoy the show. Oh, one more thing. If you want to do us a big favor, I promise you it won't take long. Head on over to our page on iTunes. Just go to iTunes, type in Primos Hunting. You'll see the Speak the Language podcast. Give us a 5-star rating if you would, and write us a review. Now, enjoy the show. December the 22nd, 3 days before Christmas.
Yep, we are officially on our Christmas break.
Feel like we're back in high school.
Yeah, we every year we get, a few days away from Cottonmouth. It sounds crazy to say it, but we have to take a few days off.
Yeah.
It gets so run down ragged this time of year.
Yeah. You get to the point where you don't even realize how tired you are until you kind of get back and stop, and you're like, oh, okay. I should probably slow down for a little while.
Yeah, I'm physically tired from getting up and working long days every day, but it mentally is the main thing.
Yeah. It's even if the hunting's good, it's just that much time in a tree, that much time around. I mean, honestly, even though, we all get along, but still just being around the same, there's 6 of us, and, Wilbur hadn't been around this year, so 5 of us. Yeah. And, so you're around those same people all day, every day. It just gets so monotonous. You get just mentally drained.
Yeah, it's not like we're talking bad about it. Just need a break. Christmas is always a good time we get to spend time with people we don't get to see very often because we're gone.
Yeah, and for sure we'll get to hunt, which I guess a little bit of spoiler alert, like we are planning this week. We're going to hunt some, just won't be at Cottonmouth or Togo.
The people that do follow Lake and myself around on Instagram or whatever, you've probably seen it. We've been hunting a place we call the Zoo.
The Zoo.
Carter Muscagny, he's a manager of that place, and he's gracious enough to let us go out there hunting, and it's been a joy because it's right here close to the house, and we're helping him and trying to figure out how to hunt this place because he just got it.
Yeah, and it's new to us and new to him.
Yep, so we're going to be doing that this week. So
I'm gonna have to do some reevaluating because I have not been out there since probably early November, maybe, and but we know what was out there during the early season. Stuff has changed a lot, but it'll be interesting. And I know there's some big deer on that place.
Yeah, and I hunted out there Thanksgiving week and had an ego check for sure. I had this buck come in, I killed him with my bow, and I was so fired up and got down, and it was a lot younger deer than I thought he was. And I had been hearing some stuff from you. Yeah,
well.
It's all fun, though. I know I did wrong. We all want to shoot mature bucks.
Yeah. Here's my take on that whole thing. As far as if you were hunting on a place that belonged to you or your friend or whatever, and the management program that was set for it was just state legal deer.
Yeah.
Then I wouldn't have said a word.
Yeah.
Because I have good friends that are like that. They just like having fun and keep it, as long as you keep it legal, I don't care what you do.
Yeah, it's all fun, but we're all trying to grow mature bucks out there, and I messed up.
Yeah. So in that circumstance where we're hunting a friend's place that has put a lot of work into it, and then a young deer gets shot, I'll give it a little bit of grief.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't come back to bite me, but
it always comes back around sometime or another.
Yeah.
Because trust me, I have gave people a lot of shenanigans about shooting a young deer, and just It happened.
It can happen. Like I know it can happen. So, but I mean, that place does have, like, I know the deer that I saw during the early season.
Yeah.
I saw some truly impressive shooter bucks. That would be considered good shooter bucks anywhere in the country on that place.
Yep.
So that'll be fun to do.
Yeah, we got some pitiful weather coming ahead though.
Yeah.
This I know can't hunt tomorrow and can't hunt Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, but starting after that we plan on hunting. I looked at the forecast today and it's going to be in the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Mississippi for you.
Yeah. It will knock them back a little bit for daylight movement, but you do have the rut working in your favor, and then bucks should be up.
Yeah. Speaking of the rut, Brad and I touched on it a little bit last week.
Yep.
But I wanted to go into more detail on it because now, we have me who was at Togo, and we have you that was at Cottonmouth. And I thought the differences when what we were seeing as far as timing goes was very interesting.
Let me tell you, I've been hunting Cottonmouth. This is my 4th season.
Yep.
It's my 4th rut to go through over there.
Mm-hmm.
And this year has been way more pronounced chasing, coming to calling than I've ever seen over there.
Yeah. And I could tell that from the footage, the clips y'all are sending us.
And everybody's heard us talk about the flood and this and that, and we don't have the antler size. That's no ifs and buts around it.
Yeah.
They're down as far as antler size,
Yeah.
but body weights are through the roof.
Yeah.
They're incredible how they have rebounded.
Yeah.
And I think that's got a lot to do with the rut because we, just number-wise, doing trail cam surveys since August, I'd say our herd is down 40 to 50% of what we normally see.
Yeah. I was going to guess 30 to 40.
I'm thinking
somewhere in there.
I'm thinking closer to 50.
Yeah. So that's me and Brad were talking about that too because when you sent that clip, I said, Brad, just think about this now. I mean, I know we try to stay on top of our doe harvest over there, but with a deer herd that prolific, I just think it's possible. And like I said, you're the one that's seen it. I said, Brad, do you think that if the numbers really got knocked back by that flood, do you think it could have made it to where that rut's more intense just because our numbers are lower?
I definitely think we're seeing that.
Yeah.
I really do because I think I don't remember what day exactly it was, but it was early for over there to see the chasing and stuff we were seeing.
Yeah.
It was like the 12th.
Yeah, y'all sent the one Troy killed. Y'all sent a clip of that. Y'all videoed on the computer screen with your cell phone. I said, Brad, think about it. I said, when's the last time you've seen a deer that age class? That's a 4 to 5 year old deer.
5 to 6.
5 to 6.
250 pounder.
A 5 to 6 year old deer. When's the last time you've seen one that old chasing a doe like that at Cottonmouth?
Yeah,
I've seen them following them, like walking behind them. I've never seen them chasing, not like that.
The most chasing I've seen mature deer over there is usually in January.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Not the first rut. Usually there's so many does to pick from because our deer herd is so, numbers-wise, it's best.
Dense.
Yeah. Anybody that's ever hunted the Mississippi Delta or, Arkansas Delta, Louisiana Delta, any of that river stuff, they know what we're talking about when we say it's this crazy deer numbers.
Yeah, yeah.
When you say Cottonmouth, I estimate, this is not a fact, this is an estimate on a normal year, I would think we'd have 800 to 1,000 deer on that place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You say that and then people are like, wow.
Yeah.
This year it's not like that, and I think that's what we're really seeing is a difference in the rutting activity. They're having to compete.
Yeah, because, you hear, somebody, maybe they bought a farm or anyhow they decide to put it under a management program, and usually a biologist, whoever, tell them, be like, you start taking X amount of does, this amount of bucks. So, what you're trying to do is get the buck to doe ratio tighter. So it'll take a little bit. It'll take long. Don't expect it to be overnight. But if you start to get that ratio tighter, you'll see an increase in rut. You'll see a more intense rut.
Yeah.
We're seeing it overnight because there was no grace period. Nature did it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like nature said, okay, population, whether or not they got killed by the flood, whether or not some of them left during the time they were pushed out on that levee, whether they just went to other ground and never returned.
You got to remember, too, when our deer started leaving this past year, hunting season was still open.
Mm-hmm.
And, the people outside the levees, like the surrounding landowners and stuff that were not flooded, they got an increase in deer.
A huge influx of deer.
Great. I'm sure they had a fantastic late season last year, but that still – I mean, we've been talking about how we're hurt and everything, but from what I've been seeing the last 2 weeks, it helped us.
Yeah. And here's what I'm thinking. Like, you know, I'm like, if our deer numbers stay where they're at and the river, Lord willing, Lord, please let that river be nice to us for the rest of this season through the summer.
At least don't have an 8-month flood stage.
Can you imagine with that number of deer what some of the bucks are going to be next season they have because of the nutrition they'll have? Like, it's liable to get silly.
If we get a normal river, say it goes above flood stage for maybe a month, that's being generous, giving it that.
All right.
If we have that happen, it's going to be antler growth will be unreal next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. No if and buts around it. 2011 flood, it went down a lot earlier than it did this year, and those bucks got the growth they needed that year. And it same like this. It had a lot of kill, a lot of your herd died off a lot more than normal. And that next fall, it was just unreal up and down the river as far as antler growth.
Well, because they had the lower numbers, but then they had time to get those nutrients while they're growing antlers, which is not what happened this year.
Me and you went to a seminar back last summer at the QDMA convention with Craig Harper. And he was telling us, it was something really interesting to me. I can't remember the exact number, but it was less than 20% of your browse is premium.
Mm-hmm.
Not all browse in the woods is great for your deer.
Yeah.
It may be the same species of browse, but not all of it's got the same content to it that makes your antlers grow as big. So when you've got less numbers of deer competing over that high percentage feed, that makes them grow bigger.
Because they know. I mean, they know.
Oh, yeah.
They know what has more. And like you said, I mean, it's just less competition for that kind of food. I mean, like, I'm just, at this point, and me and Brad were talking about it last week, we were laughing about it. Like, you talk to anybody that hunts along that river, right now where the river it's at, like, it's not flood stage, but, it's a little bit high.
It's right there at it.
Everyone's gun shy because they're so scared after last year. Like, please don't do that again. Please don't do that again.
It's at the stage. In Vicksburg right now, I think it's
33, 34.
It's in the 30s. Yeah. I don't know what it is today, but at the 30-something mark, one big front in the upper Midwest or Northeast can just decimate us.
Yeah.
So.
And I just don't even, I mean, like, and I know it's, we say this a lot, but, like, I'm just, like, looking at those deer and what they went through. I'm like, golly, I don't want them.
Give them a break.
Like, give them a break, man. Like, good gosh. They just, like, and it said now they look, other than their antlers, Togo was the same way. The bucks, we saw several does get pulled in that skin and shit. All of them had, some of them had, like, the fat content on them when we skinned them. I mean, like, they'd eaten good. Yeah. So it was the same story, but.
I mean, Troy's deer weighed 250. We killed one deer last year that weighed 250, and my deer weighed 230, 220 something. And I mean, all the bucks that are 4.5 and 5.5 years old they're above average weights.
What was your deer doing when you shot it?
Cruising, looking for a doe.
Yeah.
3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Because I saw that clip you sent, but the one that got sent to Troy's was longer. Like yours, I mean, that's what it looked like. What was happening, but it was like right before you shot him.
We had got set down in Bodoc and. We hunted there. Pause. Let me turn this TV down.
Lord. Zero professionalism.
Football games going on, man.
Oh yeah, Bodoc. Yep. That's a good stand. What day did you? That's right around where I killed that one at Bodoc last year.
You killed yours on the 16th. I don't remember what day I killed mine on. Right around that.
Yeah.
But we had hunted there the morning before and didn't see much. But you got to try that. You got to give that a valiant effort. That spot, that area is known.
Too good.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we talk about Bodoc, like Bodoc, if you were to draw out like a picture for a spot, like the perfect spot to catch a buck cruising in the southeast during the rut, Bodoc.
You wouldn't do that this year though.
No? What's different in there?
There's no cover.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
You would not recognize it this year.
I didn't think about that, which it makes sense, though, because there were several areas that I hunted with Brad that we'd get in, and Brad, the whole time Brad was going, man, I'm telling you, usually on the years, like other years, it looks different than this. That water just kept it held back for so long, it never got to grow.
Mm-hmm. You remember where you recovered your deer at? It was 6 foot high and cuckleburrs in there. You can see 300 yards through them woods this year.
Really?
But the history, them deer, them
Yeah.
older deer know where to go. You know, they know where to cruise and look at. But
Is that thicket line even there?
a little bit,
Just not
like
pronounced
it
like
usually
it usually is.
Yeah.
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 Like usually in that spot it is a like defined line.
Yeah.
And it's you got the food plot, coyote food plot backed up to it, and then chance is not there far from it.
I can tell you how open them woods are. You can see most of coyote from it.
Can you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you usually can't see it at all, hardly.
You just know it's there.
Yeah.
But that's what happened. We got up in the stand and hadn't been there 15 minutes. Just got done doing the opening and doing all the TV stuff we need to do to get the hunt rolling, you know. And I just sat down, put a cough drop in because, I've been struggling, not trying to cough and wheeze. And
Yeah.
it's funny because I was sitting there, I was wheezing really bad that day.
Yeah.
And I wheezed, and I heard something. I was like, was that me? Sound like a deer. But,
What's that me?
and I looked up, and there I could see his horns coming through that privet line over there.
Yeah.
But that was him grunting.
Anyway, was that me? Did I make that noise?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what privet line you're talking about, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's where there's a bunch of them pop out right there.
Yeah, but he, for whatever reason, he took that trail. If I'd have had my bow, it would have been a top 10 shot.
Yeah. That's what it looked like. I saw it, because when I saw the deer come in, I was like, is he bow hunting or boom?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was 33 yards, I think.
Yeah. Well, I can't say the one I killed was like 40.
Yeah.
He just happened to come. I mean, that's a good spot.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
It is very history has proven itself, and that's one of the spots year in, year out. It's going to be good that week.
Yeah. What did y'all see this past week? Man. I know y'all still killed deer, but what were y'all seeing in terms of like rut goes? Yeah, still seeing the same.
They're more lockdown right now.
Yeah. See, that's what's interesting to me because like the first week when Troy killed that one and then you killed the one in Bodock, me and Brad were pretty. I mean, like we were just seeing like just the faintest of whispers that the rut may be on its way.
Yeah.
It's seen some young bucks kind of, we'd hunt a food plot and there'd be a doe out there and a 2.5-year-old would come run that doe off,
I'll tell you this, food plots, other than that afternoon that Troy killed that deer that was chasing like crazy, food plots are not the spot to be right now.
Same.
Yeah.
Exact same. We hunted food plots like 2 or 3 times and then like the second or third time, whichever it was, me and Brad were like, we got to get, they're still on browse.
Yeah.
And they're factual, like 100% fact. Like we were hunting food plots, like just big 4 or 5 acre looking field.
Should see 20 deer.
Yeah, saw like 3, and we're like there. Like I said, there's still enough browse out there. That's just they don't have to eat them yet.
Yeah, but this week we had that big weather front come in Monday. We didn't hunt. Tuesday afternoon we went to Oak Tree Road. Me and Jimmy did, and we didn't see a deer till 4:30. We saw a little buck and nothing else till about 5. Then a doe popped out and she started eating on acorns. You know how them oak trees are. That's a food plot in the woods, so you're not really hunting. You're hunting both. You're hunting browsing.
You got both.
But wasn't 2 minutes later, here come a big old 8-point just following her, just hanging with her. He wasn't chasing. He was just waiting on her to do her thing.
Yeah, typical old deer behavior.
Yeah, and he finally fed around enough where he could get an open shot, and Jimmy laid him out there. The cool thing about it was he fell probably 20 yards from where we saw Sonny Rocker the first time.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
That brought back some good memories.
I bet it did. So like, while all that craziness is going on at Cottonmouth, I said I'm trying to piece all this together.
Yeah.
Like that would have been.
That was Tuesday.
Let me pull out my calendar here and put these dates together. So the 9th, like December the 9th through the 13th, that's the week. That's the first week I was at Togo. That's the week you and Troy killed.
That's the most rutting we saw.
Yep. And so.
Which is earlier than normal.
Exactly. So Thursday of that week, there's a big cutover. And that's like Brad said, food plots ain't doing it. Let's get in these woods. I know there's deer in this cutover. I'm like, I'm in. Let's go. So we haul in there with climbers one morning, jack up a tree, and we see a big, probably 5 to 6 year old. He's either a 6 or 7 point, bumping a doe around. And we hadn't seen. And when I say bumping, he's kind of like doing like what you said, like he's just kind of following behind her. And if he got close, she'd kind of just move up a little. I mean, he wasn't like full on chasing, but I was like, Okay, we got that's a mature buck doing some of this now. Like we're getting somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And Brad was going to shoot that deer. He just never could get a shot. He kind of when the openings I had, he couldn't shoot, and then he just kind of was moving around so much, just didn't work out.
Right.
That next morning we climbed again, and like it's not even daylight yet. Like not for the camera, like daylight period, and I hear and a buck chases a doe probably 100 yards in front of our climbers, but I mean it's dark. I mean you can just hear it and hear the grunt, and we're like, well, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
And then we saw one poor doe was getting chased by like 4 or 5 bucks that were all 3.5 and under.
Oh wow!
Like we saw there was a I say it's not. I mean it's a slough now, but it's not. It's only a slough now because the river's up a little bit.
Right. And
she was running the edge of that slough, and you see her go boom, and then you like just at one after another, buck, just chasing. And then before the morning ended, Brad goes, I see a doe over there. I'm like, okay. And then Brad goes, oh goodness, big deer. And there was a really nice 8-point. And he was just doing kind of like you just patiently walking behind this doe.
Trying not to draw any attention.
Yeah, just kind of keeping his distance. She wasn't worried. He was just kind of doing his thing. And we're like, when you see one that age doing it, it's happening.
Yeah.
You know?
Ain't no doubt.
And that was on a Saturday. And then left that Saturday because I had to go to a Christmas party. Come back that Sunday because he found a spot he wanted to hunt. And then Sunday's when we killed the first deer out there.
Okay.
So we'd start like watching the progression of it because Togo was probably
2 hours south.
Yeah, I wonder how many miles it is.
Probably 60 or 50 to 60, I would guess.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit more, 70.
But just watching the transition happen was very interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
But this past week, I mean, Jimmy killed 2 bucks in 2 days, and then Troy killed one the last day we were there with his bow. So
happening.
Yeah, Troy's was a pretty cool hunt. Jimmy. The second deer he killed, we were sitting in a secret patch, of course, and buck came out by himself.
Yep.
And here come a doe out of secret bottom, and he stood around there and looked at her. Then he come and checked her out, and Jimmy shot him, of course. But Troy's was pretty cool. We was sitting buckshot 3 and hadn't seen a whole lot. And about, 4:15, 4:30, we saw a doe getting chased by a little young buck across the end of it.
Yeah.
And a couple seconds later, we heard this awful commotion. Thought a limb fell out of a tree or something popping, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And a deer started blowing over there. And come to find out later, Troy looked back at the video, and there's 2 bucks fighting.
Really?
Yeah, and the buck he shot ended up skirting us out there about 70, 80 yards. I said, Troy, grunt at him real quick.
Yeah.
And Brindley's over playing in her swing.
She's all right, yeah.
I said, Troy, grunt at him. And Troy went back. And that buck turned on a dime and beelined it to us at 25, 30 yards.
That's what goes back to what we were talking about too, because we have definitely had success calling deer in at Cottonmouth. It's
usually more in January though.
Yeah, like not this time of year, and not like you usually get like the, how you grunt at them,
the sneak in,
and they go, "Was that what I thought it was?" And then they walk a little bit, you grunt at them again, they go, okay, it was, and they just kind of meander in there. Not any of this burp burp. Oh, okay, not like that.
Usually you'll have a young buck do that. They'll come right in, but this one, you're talking about 5, 6 year old buck.
Yeah.
Coming up in there making scrapes like a freaking bull.
Yeah. That's so. And we talked about this hunt a little bit last week, but so at Togo. Again, this was all of it kind of melts together. I'd have to go back and rewatch everything to get the timing exactly right. But I know it was somewhere in between where me and Brad decided, all right, food plots are not where we need to be. And there was a spot. It was actually out the back of a food plot, and the water had come up through there. So you had, there was a big thicket, and then along this, so you had thicket, water, and then all along this open lane was acorn trees on acorn trees. And that was the most deer sign on the whole week. That was the most deer sign we saw. It was kind of like, all right, we need to find somewhere to hunt right here.
Right.
And so we lucked up and found a tree right on the edge of the water. North wind would blow over that water. It was a booger bear of a tree to hang it in because there was vines, poison ivy going all over the place, But
the last time I hung a stand in Togo, I had to go to the hospital because I got poison ivy so bad.
It was like that. I still got remnants of it on my wrist, but it was like kind of one of those things where like if we get a stand in this tree, we'll get a shot at a deer, you know. And we hunted it one afternoon, and it was before that cold weather came through, and we just didn't see.
Hang on a second. Let me go put a passy in her mouth.
She's fine. Pause. This is a professional pause while Jordan goes to take care of his baby. I would cry too if Jordan was my father. No one can blame her. Sorry, Brinley. Can't help who your daddy is. Good luck in the future. All right, so we hunted that spot one afternoon, and we saw like one spike, but we were like, we got to give that another shot. So the cold weather had come through. I mean, it was probably low 30s that morning, maybe even colder than that. I mean, all I know, it was cold, and I mean, like we had shot and opened an interview, and then I mean, sat there a little bit. I mean, it was still pretty low light, if I can remember right, and Brad was like, hey, like, yeah, he said, I think we need to try to wake him up a little bit. And, you know, I'm like, absolutely. Yeah. You know, I'm like, so he gets it, he grunts, cans. I mean, I'm talking like not a long sequence, you know. I mean, you know how Brad usually does, he doesn't just come out the gate just, I mean, he just kind of did a little tendon grunts and canned a few times. And he turned around to his backpack and he put his calls back in. I think he like was reaching for something else. I don't know. But he turned back around and, you know, next thing he looks over and he's like, like. And then coming down the edge of that water turned out to be a 5 to 6 year old 8-point come to the tree.
Wow.
Like he almost went behind the tree. I mean, he was standing at the base of the tree and Brad had to wait for him to come around because he was standing there facing us for the longest time. Yeah. But I mean, he shot him at like 12 yards.
That's crazy.
And
that's awesome.
We were like, holy smokes. How, I mean, just like, again, going from just a few days prior, little bucks, you know, then that older buck's kind of chasing her around. And then this, I mean, he was a 5 to 6 year old deer comes to the tree.
Yeah. You're
like, holy smokes, man.
I think a lot of that's got to do with weather, too.
Yeah.
It gets those older bucks feeling better.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything, I don't think it has anything to do with the progression of heat cycles or anything in those, but I think it just gets the deer feeling better on their feet during daylight.
Oh, for sure. I mean, because even when it's not the rut, they move better when it's colder, you know?
Yep.
So when you had to compound it, the fact that it's the rut and it's good weather.
Yeah, no doubt.
But, I mean, that was the coolest hunt I've had all season was that. I mean, when you call a mature buck that, you know, to the tree, I mean, yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Ain't no doubt. Ain't nothing like it when it works out like that. Brinley is not happy.
You made her mad. But no, man, it was, like I said, it was pretty impressive few weeks. And it was cool to me to watch, to be hearing from y'all and then comparing it to what was happening down here, then see it. Oh man, it's cool. Yeah, but it was like I said, it was just really cool to me to watch, to be hearing what we are seeing, and then watch that kind of leak down into Togo, with it being the south. And
it's like we were talking to Levi, you know. Mm-hmm. It's pretty interesting to see how the rut works here in Mississippi.
Yeah, it's pretty funky.
It's not like the whole state of, you know, you can go to the whole state of Iowa, say first week of November, and they're chasing everywhere.
Yeah.
Here, no, so it progresses from north to south.
Yeah, and then and that's just like along the river and in the Delta. You know, like I can remember the first time Copiah County, I hunted over there. That's January. Yeah. You know, and then I can remember the first time I came over there, they were to Cottonmouth. They were like December. I was like, really? Mm-hmm. You know, it's interesting. It's very like regional, like super regional.
Oh, it's within a few mile radius. Because I can think of a friend of mine I worked with in Mossy Oak. He hunted up in northeast Mississippi and around Toxies and stuff. They're chasing right now, just like in the Delta. And where he hunted at was 35 minutes from there, and they were into January.
Yeah.
It's so weird how the deer in Mississippi rut.
Yeah,
it really is.
I've always thought that, and it became weird to me when I started getting to travel to other places. Yeah, and then I was like, oh, you know, because at first it's just what you're used to growing up down here.
The whole Midwest, there's 5 or 6 states up there that are good within a 10-day period.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's so weird here.
Yeah.
That's the only way I know how to do it.
Oh, it is. Like, is it that place in Copiah that I used to hunt? I mean, you go there right now. I mean, you can still get some good hunts in, but you ain't going to see any rutting. You know, it's going to be first, second week of January.
Yeah.
But what's cool about I'm eager to see how the rest of the season plays out.
Yeah.
With this, you know, because, I mean, the rut being like it has been at Cottonmouth took me off guard. Was not expecting that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like typically once the rut starts, from then until the end of the season, it's good hunting.
Yeah.
So I'm eager to see what happens.
One thing we have working very good in our favor is that our food plots look excellent.
Yeah.
Since there was so much browse, everybody's heard us talk about how much mass is on the ground and how much browse is in the woods this year because of that flood. But I mean, we've got great food plots left for January.
Because they ain't touched them, yeah.
Usually they're to the dirt in January, so it might get really, really nasty.
Dude, I don't think, and it was the same at Togo too. I was curious about that. Same at Togo. I don't think there was a mass tree that we walked under, Cottonmouth or Togo, that was not producing.
Right.
Every single, and not just producing, but I'm talking like raining.
We got acorn trees at Cottonmouth this year that I've never seen acorns on that have them.
Yeah. Yeah.
The land between the Lake Shumards, they've got acorns.
Yeah, they never had them, have they?
Never seen them on there.
Yeah, and then like we've always got pecan trees, but they're always, I mean, they don't normally all fall like this.
It is stinking unbelievable.
Yeah, and not only that, like at Togo we were walking. I mean, like the dewberry and the greenbrier is everywhere.
I'll tell you how much mass the deer have at Cottonmouth right now is they're not even hardly eating them in the woods. They're just walking up and down the roads, eating them out of the roads because they're easy to get to.
Yeah. When you got deer getting picky on food, that's how you know you've got a residual food effect.
The other day we were somewhere. It's a funny story. I forget. We drove in there with a buggy and checked camera midday or whatever and cracked a bunch of pecans in this road. I don't even remember where we were. But anyway, we were hunting right there. It was at Chance's. And, you know, you drive in there, and we cracked all these pecans with the tires of the buggy driving in there. And the deer were picking the cracked pecans up over the whole pecan.
They're like, oh, look, they shelled them already. That's nice of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a fun couple of weeks, and I hope it keeps it up.
Oh, for sure. And it's never, I'm sure this will be a reoccurring theme, but it's been really interesting to me as like, because as the longer season goes on, it's like we're learning more and more of the effects of that flood.
It's a totally different year.
And apparently not all of those effects are bad.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that. But, I think that about covers all of it. And
we got a fun week ahead of us. We're going to be hunting the zoo finally for a few days in a row and trying to figure them deer out. And hopefully we'll get one or two down out there.
Would love to. But, yeah, that's it, guys. Always, if you have any questions, send it into the Facebook, the Instagram page. And that's going to do it for tonight. Thank you for listening to the Speak the Language podcast.